Welcome to this week's edition of Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. He, of course, is the founder of Mosley Wealth Management, and we have a special guest today, his son, Travis. So great to see you. Thanks for coming in.
It's great to be here, Rebecca.
I love that we call him the professor around here because he is an award-winning teacher, teaches so many things. He has a gold ring for when he helped a state team in Texas get all the way to the championship. I love the way you break down things, Tom, and I love your idea that you brought Travis today because he is in the accumulation phase. You may have heard us talk about that. And then when you get close to retirement, you become into the distribution phase. And I, in my 50s, am right between your ages. So this is going to be a fun show.
I hope so. I hope so. You're talking about love the way I do things. Well, this is my beloved son,
yes,
in whom I am well pleased. He's been with us for 8 years, and he's actually one of those educated guys as well. He's got a chartered financial consultant designation that he's worked really hard to get, and which is like a step and a few more classes above the noted CFP that they advertise about. So, and you know, you hear those stories, Rebecca, of the guy who started sweeping the dock and went all the way to leading the company. That's the way Travis was. Right out of college, he started working with us, and he's literally done every facet of this job. And now he's one of our senior advisors and doing a phenomenal job. It keeps fire going for me because I have to stay ahead of him. And it's really difficult sometimes to just stay ahead of him. In fact, as you were saying that, I was thinking we've got 6 advisors. We've got advisors that are in their 20s and upper 20s that are CFPs and noted in their own field, but we've got advisors in their 30s, we've got advisors in their 40s, in their 50s, and then I'm older than that. I'll just say it that way. So we've pretty much got that heartbeat covered.
I love it.
So that whoever looks at us, we not only know what to do, but we feel what you need done because we're right there where you are. So it's a very important distinction. It's one thing I tell my younger advisors, you need to know what to do, but you need to also, when you're working with somebody who's retired or retiring, you need to feel it in the heart. So you could miss it by 18 inches if you're not careful by just knowing what to do, but not really feeling what they're going through.
And so much of it, Travis, I know you've watched your dad, it's like this personal connection for someone to trust their money with you. You have to really have those few meetings to earn their trust. Income is the foundation of any retirement home. How can you retire if you don't have that foundation of income? And I know when you put together this beautiful plan, that is kind of the first part. Right now, we are all accumulating, and then we go into distribution. Let's talk about how to make your money last for the rest of your life.
Well, when you get to retirement, always before and when you're growing toward retirement, when you're 20, when you're 30, when you're 40, even when you're in your 50s, accumulation, where Travis holds and where he lives in his life, accumulation is the big thing. You want to save enough money to retire. And you know how it is when you first get started. You plan on retiring. When you're 25, you plan on retiring by the time you're 40. And then when you're 35, you plan on retiring by the time you're 55. And then when you get to be 50, you hope one day you might be able to retire. But it all hinges on saving enough money to retire, and then knowing when to pull the string and when to blow the whistle and when to say goodbye to that job. And then during that phase, you can pretty much put your money in the market and just watch it grow. I have children that are 26, younger than Travis, and I have them that are older than Travis, up to 45. And I always tell my kids at those ages, put your money in the market, be something really good, solid in your 401k or your 403b, and grow your lump sum. And don't look at it until you're 55 years of age, because you can't touch that money in retirement plans until you're 59 and a half without paying a penalty anyway. If you need to save for a house or a car or something, you don't need to do that in your retirement funds and in your retirement plans, but grow the lump sum. But then when you get to the point of deciding to retire and you walk out that door, unless your name's on the building, you no longer have an income. You have a lump sum that's got to last you for the rest of your life, but somehow or another, you have to translate that from the lump sum and make sure that then you're moved from the lump sum to income being the top thing and the top purpose there. And then and the bad thing is you don't know how long you're going to need it. Travis and I joke around when people come in and we say, if you can tell us the exact day you're going to pass away, we'll build a perfect plan. But otherwise, you've got to plan on living anymore a long, long, long time. So, you know, some ideas on income. Tell them about some of the differences we've had in needing for income.
Well, I'll tell you what, Rebecca, we come across people in all kinds of different situations. And talking about the lump sum compared to income, I always tell people that retirement is open for interpretation. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. You know, we have sat across the table from people that have less than $100,000 to their name, but their monthly expenses are only, we've seen as low as $750, obviously living a very frugal life. And we peel the onion back a little bit, and most people would think that, wow, that person is in a tough position because they don't have a lot saved for retirement. But then we look at their income sources and they only need $750 and they have $8,000 coming in. I would say that person's pretty wealthy in retirement. We've also sat across from people that have had $3 to $4 million. And most people would glance at that and be like, wow, I'd love to be that person. But then we take a look at it and their expenses are $25,000, $30,000 a month. And I gotta be honest, I've never seen a retirement source have that much paying out each month.
Right.
And before you address that income in retirement, you know, you have to know what you're aiming at and what your target is. Now, before I became a retirement planner many moons ago, I used to play baseball. You know, I had the opportunity to play all the way through college. And I have to be fair, my last couple of years of my career, I watched more baseball than I got to play, but that's okay.
Bench warmer.
Yeah, exactly. But I still got a great opportunity to play all the way through.
That's great.
Now, looking at it, I was a pitcher, and I pitched my entire life. And I know that every time I stepped on that mound, I had to look at my target before delivering that pitch. Well, when you get into retirement, it's the same type of thing. You have to know what your income is going to be or what your monthly expenses are, so that way you can get a gauge of what exactly you're planning for.
I love that. And Tom, you've said many, many times, it always starts with a plan. So if you don't have a solid retirement plan, that's the first red flag. Let's take a very short break, Tom. Give them that number. Tell them what they can expect. Because the first few conversations, meetings really are just to get to know each other.
They really are. We call our process Ease into Retirement, and each of the letters of EASE stands for something. And like you said, Rebecca, the E of ease, the first E, stands for envision. You come in, you call in to the number 866-709-1462, and somebody will take your call, or if we're slammed busy like we are a lot of times on this show, then they'll call you back, or you can call back a little bit later. But they'll set up a time for you to come in and talk to us. Now, we have offices in Glendale. We have our main offices in Anaheim. We have an office out east in Chino Hills, and we have an office down in San Diego at Scripps Ranch. And you set up a time to come in and talk to us, and all we do during that first appointment, we don't ask you to buy anything. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. None of our meetings along the whole process cost you anything. But you come in and you tell us who you are, what you're trying to do. Do you need $700 of income a month, or do you need $30,000? And if so, what kind of lumberyard do you have and have you put together so that we can build a retirement house for you to live in? And that's the retirement blueprint that we put together. Now, the one thing you need to realize, in every one of our conference rooms, okay, we've got about 9 conference rooms where we can meet people. Every one of them, we start with a blank sheet of paper. Why? Because your situation is entirely different than anybody else's situation. And all of the sources of income that you have are different. All of the needs that you have are different, whether you have a mortgage or not. Those are all the questions we ask you. We ask you in that first Envision meeting just a ton of questions. And to be fair, we give you an opportunity to ask any of our advisors that you're meeting with a ton of questions about us. And we will be forthright, honest, transparent with everything we can. And the only thing we ask you at the end of that first meeting is, do you want us to take what you have and do an analysis of it, and then come back for a second complimentary meeting where we show you what we would do with what you have to put together a plan, a retirement blueprint, to make sure that you're going to be able to reach your ultimate goal in retirement, to make sure that you're never going to have to run out of money the rest of your life. Because that's the biggest question, is a lump sum you can run out of money, but guaranteed increasing income, you'll never run out of that. And that's what we do our very best with we have to work with what you bring in, but that's what we do to our very best to put it on paper for you and say, this is the plan. And then you decide if you want to work with us or not at that point. So call the number, 866-709-1462. We have people coming into our office on a weekly basis, and they say something like this. They say, I've been thinking about calling in for weeks, and I finally did it.
Yes.
Well, thinking about it doesn't transfer through the TV to us.
That's right.
You have to pick up the phone and call the number. We'll set up a time and we'll help you make sure that we can turn your lump sum into an income that'll be sufficient for you.
And there really is no cost, no obligation at all. There's the QR code as well. Give us a call during this broadcast to make sure that we get you on the book. Stay with us, more with Right on the Money right after this.
When was the last time you saw your financial professional? Are you getting the most out of the strategy that was created for you? Although you've done a great job finding someone to help plan for your future, are you 100% sure that you were given the right strategy? We can help answer these questions and more with a complimentary second opinion evaluation. We will take a look at what you have in place and then help determine if you're well positioned to get the most out of your future retirement income. In the event that it is not, we can help by making suggestions and showing you how to get on the right path. You wouldn't get just one opinion when it comes to a major health decision, so why would you treat your most important financial decision with such disregard? Call today for your no-cost, no-obligation second opinion evaluation to see if you're getting the most out of your retirement income plan.
Welcome back to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley of Mosley Wealth Management. I'm Rebecca Powers. So happy to be with you again this week. And I love that you brought Travis. This is one of his, 5 children?
5 children, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
And you, what a form of flattery. You have shadowed him, you have watched him, you graduated from Cal State, and now you work with the business. So 2 great things. You know, once Tom is gone, about 40 years from now, maybe 50 years from now, Travis will still be there. And it sounds silly, but it's not, because it's always about trust and knowing someone. We were talking about income. The first step is to mine for your income. Where do you start? After those first few meetings of getting to know the potential client, where do you start?
Well, Rebecca, there's 3 main sources of income in retirement. And if you're at home right now, I want you to visualize a 3-legged stool sitting in front of you. Now, that first leg is going to be pensions. I want to say this because pensions are what I call endangered species. You know, they're far and few between nowadays. Unless you have a government-paying job or a private company that's going to pay you a pension, you're probably not going to get one. And in fact, in all of our seminars, we always do a little Q&A or a question segment, and we ask everyone in the crowd, who here has a pension? And about half the crowd will raise their hand. Well, then we ask, well, how many of your kids have pensions? And it's usually less than 3 or 4 in each group.
Wow.
So pensions are not around anymore, and that's a defined benefit plan that's based off of your years of service. Most people have a 401k or a 457 or a 403b, but that's a defined contribution plan and is a little bit different. Now, that second leg of that stool is going to be Social Security. Now, it's not quite on the endangered species list, but it could be heading there. And we all hear the news, you know, will Social Security be around? In 2033, you know, they're going to pay out about 75% of benefits. You know, so Social Security makes up about 40% of what a retiree needs in income.
Wow.
And with the current news and where it's at of, you know, it could not be solvent in the future, that's something that may need to be taken care of. And Social Security is interesting because we always get people that are super excited at 62 to run down there and so eager to turn on their Social Security, but you need to make a sound decision when you decide to turn on your Social Security for a lot of reasons. Now, the last leg of that stool is going to be rentals, and they can either go one of 2 ways. There's never in between, or at least I haven't heard anything yet. I have people that love them because they're a great source of income, they have great tenants, and they continue to keep them happy, or I have the other opposite side where it's just a pain and you are continually pulling out your hair. And a lot of people, especially as you get older, they don't have the energy to be dealing with stuff like that. So rentals, although they can be a very good source of income in retirement, can also be a detriment and a headache as well.
Now, that reminds me of tax planning, and we won't get off too much, but it's also I have rentals, and it's a great source of tax write-offs.
That's absolutely true.
Tax planning is a big part. I mean, Mosley Wealth Management is a holistic approach. That's what I love about it. It's not a big box retailer, and I know we talk about that often.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. When we do these shows, we try to particularly just hone in on one particular area of what we do. And if you only watch one show or even one segment of the show, or even like statistics tell us 45 seconds of a show, then you won't get the full spectrum of what we do. Now, when it comes to income, yes, you know, the major sources are Social Security, pensions, and maybe rentals or savings that you have. But then when you go from the lump sum that we talked about in the first segment to the income, you really need to think of just your lump sum being exactly what it says, a lump sum, just a big massive part out there. But then when you need to move into retirement, you need to think of what I call, because I grew up on the farm, I call them buckets. You need to have 3 different buckets of money that you've told that lump sum, hey, we need to get a little structure here. We need to have a little definition to what you have in the lump sum. The first bucket is an emergency bucket. Now, there was a time when they would say have 1 year of your income needs in an emergency bucket, but that was back when you could get 5, 6, 7% on a money market or a CD or something that you could just put that money in the bank. I think now most people are looking at $10,000 to $15,000 in an emergency bucket, so that if the roof leaks when it rains, we know this year in Southern California, whether it's raining or not, because we've had rain every other day, it seems like, but it's going to dry out again, and next year, who knows, your roof might leak. You may need some money for an emergency. The other thing is the lump sum is usually in the market. That's good. Those 2 buckets you still need. But most people, when we work together to put together a retirement plan for someone, we hone that down to a 3rd bucket. You walked out that door. You no longer get a paycheck when you've retired. So you need a bucket that has a relatively conservative portfolio, or a bucket that we can show people how you can put the money in for your income that has no risk whatsoever. And you hone in to that bucket in retirement because you need that 3rd bucket. You need 2, 3, or 4 years minimum, depending on how risky you are. Put in a conservative bucket, and out of that you draw your income. Leave the rest of your money over there in the market, because in 2 or 3 or 4 years, all the things that we're going through right now mostly should have settled down, or at least some of them. So then you just replenish that income bucket that you've created. That's what it means to build structure, and not just to have a lump sum, but to focus on income in retirement.
All right, you said no risk at all, and believe me, ladies and gentlemen, there is a way that you can sleep peacefully at night. And really, do you know your risk? That's one of the other things that they will find out in the first few meetings. They'll show you by a computer program exactly what your risk is and what your fees are. So when we come back, we're going to talk about no risk at all. There is a way, and there are some tools. There's the number, 866-709-1462. Give us a call, have your calendar ready, and we'll be right back.
The work never seems to end until the day it finally does. After nearly a lifetime on the job, you should be rewarded for all the time you spent working. Whether that's crossing off items on your bucket list, learning a new passion, or rekindling the love of an old one. After all, life isn't over when you stop working. It's the start of an all-new chapter, the one where you're the writer and you get to choose how your story will go. A way to achieve that is by having a clear financial plan to sustain your golden years. The biggest fear most retirees have is if they'll have enough money to maintain the lifestyle they've always enjoyed. Having a plan to help protect you against the curveballs life often throws will help to maintain your lifestyle. Call today to get your free written financial plan so you may live every day to the fullest and enjoy the retirement of your dreams.
Welcome back to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. You said the words we all want to hear. There is a way to keep your money safe and have no risk at all. What is your favorite tool to do that, Tom?
Well, I think the favorite tool for anybody who's really wanting to take the risk out, I know of no other tool that takes the risk out other than an annuity. And I I realize when I say that word that a lot of people have a negative connotation to an annuity because there are a lot of people who spend a lot of money saying, I hate annuities, and talk about all the bad things about annuities. But nonetheless, you've got to watch what you listen to. I mean, if you hear something on TV, you've got to ask yourself, if that person's advertising that way, what are they trying to accomplish? I mean, some of the big box firms that are investment firms, even their name is, whatever their name is, investments. There's several that are that way. And they say they hate annuities. But then they claim to be fiduciaries. Now, just put the two and two together. I'm going to do what's in your best interest, but I'm not going to present a plan that's out there that many, many people have. Chances are you have annuities and you don't even know about it, and you love those annuities. For instance, Social Security is an annuity. It's something that's going to pay you every month for the rest of your life. It's an annuity that's sponsored by the U.S. government. A pension. Those of you who have a pension, those of you who don't, say, I wish I had a pension. Well, what you're saying is, I wish I had a vehicle that a company has provided for me that is backed up in almost all cases by an insurance company with a product called an annuity. So you've got to watch who you listen to. And I question sometimes if somebody's really a fiduciary, if they're going to take something that 25, 30% of the money that's out there, maybe more, or if you count Social Security and pensions, more than half of the money in retirement is in an annuity. And they say, well, we're not even going to look at that for you. They're closing that off for you. You know, I've got some articles here. Here's an article by Roger Ibbotson. He's with Yale School of Management. He's a Pulitzer Prize winner, a Nobel Peace Prize winner in economics, and his article is entitled Fixed Indexed Annuities Beat Out Bonds, okay? Here's an article by Jeremy Siegel. Jeremy Siegel is in charge, he's the chief economist at the Wharton School of Business in Pennsylvania, and his article is Better Than Bonds, ? A look at fixed indexed annuities. And here's an article from the Wall Street Journal, The Case for Replacing Some Bonds with Annuities. And the U.S. News and World Report, Know When to Switch from Bonds to Annuities. So not everybody, unless they're selling you something else, hates annuities. Annuities can have value to you. They can work for you if it fits. Now, we're talking about income on this program. Annuities equal income. You need an annuity when you need income. You don't, if you're 30 years old or 40 years old and you've been sold an annuity, I can understand hating them. Because when you're 30 and 40, you don't need an annuity, you need a job. That's what's going to provide you income, okay? But that job goes away in retirement. So annuities and some of the things about annuities. Travis, you want to just bring in some of the aspects of annuities that people might not know about?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there's different types of annuities out there. You know, there's a SPIA, which is a single premium immediate annuity, which will provide you with immediate income. There's fixed annuities that, you know, is a fixed rate year after year, and there's variable annuities as well. Now, some of the issues with some of these annuities is that they have extremely high fees. They have really high surrender charges, which means it's cost an arm and a leg to get out of if you want to. And they have low returns, and they come with a lot of market risk, especially variable annuities. Now, I had a couple come in about a month ago, and they became a client, but they had some questions on a variable annuity that they had been presented. And we had looked at it, and they had told me, you know, I'm averaging 8% a year on this annuity, but it just appears to me that my returns are staying stagnant. And we peeled back the onion and we took a look, and they were paying 5.5% in fees.
Wow.
So that 8% that they thought they were getting, they were really getting 2.5%. And to make matters worse, the market is very volatile right now, so there was some market loss in there as well.
I think your dad said something so important for all of us to understand. What were they selling?
Right.
So you see that we call them the big box retailer. You know the names. You've seen them on skyscrapers and hosting U.S. Opens and golf tournaments. They are proprietary. They have a certain amount of products. I think that is so important because as fiduciaries, you are completely different. Higher education, higher standard. You could pick from any product in the world. So you can go and search out every annuity and hand pick what is best. It is the opposite of a cookie cutter. I just really want our friends at home to understand that.
It really is. And what an annuity will do for you, and when I said earlier in this segment, I said An annuity will do something that no other vehicle can do.
Yeah.
An annuity will give you guaranteed income. It's guaranteed by the largest financial institutions in the world. Now, in our time right now, there's been a few runs on banks, and some banks have been all nervous. And a bank normally has to keep 3, 4, 5% of their cash deposits on hand for a run on the bank. The annuity companies have to keep almost all of their money in-house and invested. So, I mean, the numbers are unbelievable. They're stable, they're solid, and it's guaranteed income for the rest of your life, for as long as you live. A life insurance policy pays you if you don't live long enough. An annuity policy pays you if you live too long. You outlive. Listen to this, I've had nothing to drink, okay? But an annuity will pay you guaranteed income even after you run out of money in your account. What else is going to do that? And the ones that we use, Travis mentioned fees. The ones that we use as much as we can go zero fees. Zero. No fees whatsoever come out of your part. And they pay you an increasing income as the index they're tied to goes to. It lasts as long as you do. And if you are married, it lasts as long as your spouse. What else is going to do that? So you need to take a new look at annuities. When we put together a retirement blueprint, that's what we do. We start with what this show has been all about. We start with income. And we say, will this person have enough guaranteed increasing income for the rest of their life? And if you're married, which about half of our people, a little bit more than half of our people are, if you're married, will it last as long as the surviving spouse lasts? That's what we start as a foundation. But you know what you have to do? To get this kind of input and to maybe take a new look at something that you've always been told to hate at the water cooler or by your plumber when he came over, or whomever you're getting your advice from, the internet. Nobody can question the internet, I know. But you need to maybe take a new look at a product that could be the very best thing you ever have, especially if you live a very, very, very long time. But you've got to pick up the phone and call. That number is 866-709-1462. That's 866-709-1462. You've got to call us. We can help you, but you've got to reach out to us and call us.
Absolutely, and we are already out of time. Thank you so much for joining us for Right on the Money. There is the QR code. You can aim your camera at it. Have your calendar ready, please, and thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you again next week.